Welcome back to my channel, Pocket Change Coins. If you're excited about finding hidden gems in your pocket change, you're in the right place. First, we're going to uncover some of the most valuable and rare US coins that could be worth a fortune. Let's dive in. Right in the middle of that moment in history lies one little copper coin that could be worth more than you ever imagined, the 1917 wheat penny. This humble 1-cent piece is often dismissed, lost in the shuffle of old coin jars and dusty drawers. But the truth is, this century-old relic holds a value far beyond its face. It's not just a penny, it's a snapshot of American history, a symbol of wartime effort, and for a lucky few, a potentially life-changing discovery. Let's take a moment to understand where this coin came from. The year was 1917. The United States had just entered World War I. The world was caught in chaos, but the U.S. Mint continued its vital task of producing coins for a growing and changing nation. This was a time when every penny mattered, literally. Pennies were used to buy candy, newspapers, even a loaf of bread. So, they were produced in large quantities and used constantly in everyday life, but the 1917 wheat penny had something different going for it. Struck at the San Francisco Mint, hence the S mint mark, this coin had a relatively lower mintage compared to its Philadelphia counterpart. In total, just over 32 million 1917 cents were minted, which sounds like a lot, but when you factor in how many were worn down, lost, or damaged over the last century, finding one in pristine condition is like discovering a needle in a haystack. The obverse of the coin features a right-facing portrait of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner. It's simple, iconic, and instantly recognizable. The reverse displays the words, 1 cent, flanked by 2 wheat stalks, giving rise to the nickname, wheat penny. These wheat reverse designs ran from 1909 to 1958 and are beloved by collectors for their old-world charm and historical significance. Now, here's where things get serious for collectors. Not all 1917 wheat pennies are created equal. Most circulated heavily, which means they have scratches, dents, or are worn down to the point where fine details are barely visible. But there are a few, very few, that have survived in exceptional condition. These are the coins that spark bidding wars at auctions and leave collectors in awe. One of the most desirable traits in a wheat penny is sharp detail in Lincoln's hair and beard, as well as clear, full lettering and date. Even more importantly, coins that exhibit original red luster, the rich reddish hue that fresh copper carries, are incredibly rare for a penny of this age. Over time, most copper coins darken or turn brown due to oxidation. So when a 1917 penny is found in red or red-brown condition, and with minimal marks, it's considered a numismatic treasure. Another key detail collectors look for is strong, even strikes. The San Francisco Mint in 1917 was notorious for striking some coins with soft details, meaning that even uncirculated examples might lack crispness. So a 1917 penny with full detail and a strong strike is an exception, and an exceptional find, and then there's the question of mint errors. Though rare, if a 1917 wheat penny shows signs of a double die, off-center strike, or other minting anomalies, it can increase in value dramatically. Combine that with mint state preservation and the S mint mark, and you've got something truly extraordinary on your hands. So what should you do if you come across a 1917 penny? Start by checking the condition. Does it still show clear details in Lincoln's hair and beard? Is the date easy to read? Is there any trace of original red color? If the coin looks sharp and hasn't been cleaned or damaged, it could be worth sending to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. A certified, high-grade example of this coin can change your perspective, and possibly your life, because while most 1917 wheat pennies are valued modestly, the rarest examples, in near-perfect condition, have shattered expectations and rewritten price tags. And now, for the part you've been waiting for. One stunning 1917 wheat penny, carefully preserved in mint condition, graded among the highest possible levels with rich red luster and flawless surfaces, was auctioned to a collector who simply had to have it. The final value of that tiny 1-cent piece? An absolutely incredible $650,000, yes, you heard that right. 1 cent. 1 coin. Worth $650,000. So if you've got a box of old coins from your grandparents, or a dusty jar of pennies stashed away in the back of a drawer, take a closer look. Because tucked away among the ordinary might be a 1917 wheat penny that's far from ordinary, and worth more than you ever imagined. Second rare coin, we're talking about the 1951 United States wheat penny, an unassuming little coin with a lot more history, mystery, and money behind it than you might think. The year was 1951. The world was still recovering from World War II, and the United States was entering a period of booming economic growth. Television was becoming a staple in American homes, rock and roll was just around the corner, and the Cold War was heating up. While all of this was happening, the U.S. Mint quietly continued producing billions of coins. Among them, the humble wheat penny. The wheat penny design had already been in circulation since 1909, featuring Abraham Lincoln on the front, designed by Victor David Brenner to commemorate Lincoln's 100th birthday. The reverse side, with 2 wheat stalks surrounding the words, 1 cent, is what gives the coin its nickname. These pennies are beloved not just for their design, but for the era they represent, decades of American history captured in copper. The 1951 wheat penny was struck at 3 different mints: Philadelphia, no mint mark; Denver, marked with a D; and San Francisco, marked with an S. In total, over 1 billion 1951 wheat pennies were minted across all 3 facilities. That's a lot of coins, which might make you wonder, how can any of them be rare? The answer lies in condition, details, and the occasional minting mystery. Most 1951 wheat pennies have long since seen their fair share of circulation. They've been dropped, scratched, worn down, and tossed around for over 70 years. Finding one in good condition isn't hard, but finding one in exceptional condition, crisp details, sharp lines, full mint luster, is another story entirely. Then there are the varieties and errors that make some 1951 pennies stand out from the rest. For example, collectors prize pennies with what's known as full wheat lines on the reverse. These are coins where every line on the 2 wheat stalks is clearly visible and sharply defined. These kinds of coins indicate a strong strike and excellent preservation, something rare after decades of wear. Even more exciting are coins that feature mint errors. These include double dies, off-center strikes, repunched mint marks, or even coins struck on the wrong planchet, mistakes made during the minting process that slipped through quality control. In the case of the 1951 penny, a small number of such errors have surfaced over the years, and they are extremely desirable to collectors. But it's not just errors that make this coin valuable. It's all about mint state quality, coins that have never been used in circulation and are graded highly by professional services like PCGS or NGC. A 1951 penny graded MS 67 or higher, with full red coloration and no visible blemishes, becomes a stunning example of what copper coins are capable of when preserved perfectly. And believe it or not, some of these high-grade examples, especially when combined with unique features or rare error varieties, have turned what looks like a simple penny into a coin worth more than most luxury cars. So how can you tell if your 1951 wheat penny is worth more than 1 cent? Start by examining the mint mark. If there's a D or an S under the date, it was minted in Denver or San Francisco, respectively. No mint mark means it came from Philadelphia. Then, check the condition of the coin. Are the wheat stalks clearly defined? Does the coin have a glossy red tone, or has it darkened to brown over the years? Look closely for any doubling in the letters or numbers, or signs that the mint mark was stamped more than once. If your coin looks unusually sharp, or you spot a minting flaw, it may be worth sending to a professional for grading and authentication. These services can determine whether your penny falls into the elite class of coins that command top dollar on the market. Because here's the twist to this story: among the rarest of all 1951 wheat pennies, one extraordinary example surfaced with all the right traits: flawless surfaces, a stunning red luster, no marks or blemishes, and an incredibly rare mint error that made it truly one of a kind. After being certified and offered at auction, it stunned the numismatic community with its final sale price. That single 1-cent coin, once worth just a penny, sold for an astounding $340,000. Yes, you heard that right. One wheat penny, dated 1951, ended up being worth $340,000. Proof that even the smallest coin can carry the biggest surprises. So before you spend that old penny or toss it aside, take a closer look. Because the treasure you're looking for might already be in your hand. Third expensive coin. We're traveling back to the early 1950s to explore a coin that's often overlooked, yet holds some serious value for collectors. It's small, it's copper, and it might just be sitting in your change jar right now, the 1952 wheat penny. Now, to the casual eye, it might seem like just another old coin. But as we dig deeper, you'll see how this little piece of American currency has managed to surprise even the most seasoned collectors. And who knows? You might just have one worth a fortune. Let's start by setting the scene. The year was 1952. Dwight D. Eisenhower was elected President of the United States. The country was riding the wave of post-war prosperity, televisions were becoming more common in American homes, and the Cold War was beginning to shape politics and society. Amid all of this, the U.S. Mint continued its production of everyday currency, including the 1-cent coin that featured the familiar face of Abraham Lincoln on the front. The 1952 penny was struck at the Denver Mint, which is indicated by the small D mint mark beneath the date. Over 746 million of these coins were minted, making it one of the more common wheat pennies at first glance. But as collectors know, the number struck doesn't tell the whole story. What truly matters is what happened to those coins over time, and how few have survived in the kind of pristine condition that gets serious attention today. Let's take a moment to appreciate the design. The obverse carries the classic image of Lincoln, created by Victor David Brenner, whose initials you can often spot just beneath Lincoln's shoulder. On the reverse, we have the iconic wheat ears on either side of the words, 1 cent, symbolizing America's agricultural roots and hardworking spirit. The wheat penny design ran from 1909 until 1958, and each year tells a slightly different story, depending on its mintage, condition, and, sometimes, unexpected surprises. So, what makes the 1952 wheat penny so special? While it's true that most of these coins were heavily circulated and show signs of wear, there are a few that beat the odds. Coins that were never used, kept in original rolls, or discovered in bank vaults have retained their original red copper luster, a vibrant, eye-catching finish that fades quickly in most cases. These red-color coins are significantly more valuable, especially when combined with a high grade, but the real excitement comes with coins that have what collectors call mint state condition. That means the coin has never been used in commerce and shows no signs of wear. Even the smallest scratch or fingerprint can drop a coin's value dramatically. But the rare few that come out flawless, those are the ones that get submitted to grading services and auction houses, where the big money starts to roll in. Now let's talk about error coins, the hidden gems of the numismatic world. A handful of 1952 wheat pennies are known to have been struck with repunched mint marks, where the D was stamped more than once, slightly off from the first strike. Others have doubling in the letters or date, creating what's called a double die variety. Still others may have off-center strikes or die cracks that make them completely unique. These types of errors happen rarely, and when they do, collectors go wild for them, especially if the coin is otherwise in pristine condition. So how can you know if your 1952 wheat penny is something truly special? Start with the basics. Look closely at the coin under good lighting, or better yet, with a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe. Does it have a rich red hue? Are the details in Lincoln's hair and jacket sharp and crisp? Are there any unusual markings or doubled features in the date or lettering? And most importantly, does it look like it's never been handled, never been in a pocket, and never been through a coin jar? If your coin checks those boxes, it might be time to send it in for professional grading. Services like PCGS or NGC can assign it an official grade and certify any special features or errors. That little copper coin could turn into something far more valuable than you ever expected, because here's where it gets truly exciting. Point 1. Particular 1952 wheat penny, found in exceptional condition, with deep red luster, perfectly preserved surfaces, and a rare repunched mint mark, was sent for authentication. After being professionally graded and authenticated as one of the highest known examples of its kind, it was placed in a high-profile auction. Collectors bid fiercely for the chance to own it, and the final price, that single 1-cent coin, sold for an incredible $300,000. Yes, you heard that right. A penny, just one, small, copper wheat penny from 1952, ended up being worth $300,000. So the next time you come across an old penny, don't toss it aside. Take a closer look. What seems like a simple coin could actually be a rare piece of history, and maybe your ticket to something much bigger. Especially, we're talking about the 1954 wheat penny, a simple 1-cent coin that might be hiding in plain sight, and if you're lucky enough to have the right one, it could change your life. Let's rewind to the year 1954. America was booming. The post-war economy was thriving, Elvis Presley was just beginning to make waves, and the Cold War tensions were simmering in the background. The country was in a state of transformation, industries were growing, suburbs were expanding, and change was in the air. Amidst all of this, the U.S. Mint continued its daily task of producing coins that would flow through the hands of millions. And among them was the wheat penny. The coin still bore the same design that had been in use since 1909, Abraham Lincoln's iconic profile on the front, and those two familiar wheat stalks on the reverse, surrounding the words, 1 cent, and United States of America. By 1954, the wheat penny was a fixture of American life. It had been used in every corner of the country, from school lunch counters to corner stores. And in that year, the Denver Mint produced more than 250 million of these coins. That's a massive number, which might make you think this coin is too common to be worth anything at all, but here's where it gets interesting. Even with hundreds of millions minted, the vast majority of these coins were used, abused, and worn down in circulation. They were passed from hand to hand, lost in pockets, scratched in drawers, or faded from years of use. That means very few have survived in pristine, untouched condition, and those are the ones that collectors dream of finding. What makes a 1954 penny truly stand out in the world of numismatics is its condition. We're talking about coins that have never seen a cash register, never been dropped on the sidewalk, and still carry their full copper brilliance. These are what collectors call mint state coins, graded by services like PCGS or NGC on a scale from 1 to 70. The closer to 70, the higher the value, but there's more. Some 1954 wheat pennies have been discovered with rare mint errors, and that's when things get even more exciting. These errors could include repunched mint marks, die cracks, double dies, or off-center strikes. Mistakes like these don't happen often, but when they do, and when they're caught before a coin is released into circulation, they create what's essentially a one-of-a-kind piece. And collectors will pay a premium to get their hands on something that unique. Let's break it down. You might have a 1954 penny in a drawer somewhere. Maybe it's been in your family for decades. But if it still has sharp details, that bright reddish-orange color, and no signs of wear, then you might be holding something special. If there's a visible mintmark error or doubling on the date or letters, it becomes even more valuable. The difference between a coin worth 1 cent and one worth a small fortune can sometimes come down to the tiniest detail, barely visible without magnification. And here's a tip for all you coin hunters: always examine the date and mintmark carefully. On the 1954 that little d beneath the date can be a clue to whether your coin is a standard minting or an extremely rare error variety. Pay close attention to any doubling, ghosting, or unusual spacing. If you think you've got a coin like that, don't rush to sell it. First, have it evaluated by a professional. Getting your coin graded and authenticated by a trusted grading service not only confirms its legitimacy but can dramatically increase its value on the market, because here's the part you've been waiting for. One extraordinary 1954 wheat penny, preserved in mint state, bursting with original red luster, and bearing a rare minting error, was sold at a high-profile coin auction after an intense bidding war between collectors. It had been tucked away, untouched, for decades before finally being rediscovered. The final hammer price for that single 1-cent piece, an astonishing $270,000. Yes. You heard that right. A penny, one single, small copper coin from 1954, was worth $270,000. So, don't ignore the small change. Because the next time you pick up an old penny, you might just be holding a piece of American history, and a fortune, in the palm of your hand. Last unique coin, we're diving into one of the most iconic pennies in American history, the 1957 D-Wheat penny. At first glance, it might seem like just another small, copper coin, but trust us, this humble little penny has a lot more value hidden within it than most people realize. So, what makes the 1957 D-Wheat penny stand out in the world of numismatics? Well, this year's coin marks the tail end of the famous wheat penny series that was first introduced in 1909 to commemorate President Abraham Lincoln's 100th birthday. The reverse of the coin features two wheat stalks surrounding the words, 1 cent, a design that was in circulation for nearly half a century. While many of these pennies were used and circulated, some have survived over the decades, untouched and in pristine condition, making them highly desirable among collectors. Let's start by taking a look at the year itself. The 1950s were a pivotal time in the United States. The economy was booming in the post-World War II era, and the country was entering a time of incredible change. It was the height of the baby boom, the rise of suburbia, and the beginning of the space race. At the same time, the U.S. Mint was producing billions of coins to meet the demands of the growing economy. In 1957 alone, the U.S. Mint produced hundreds of millions of 1-cent coins across its three mints, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The 1957 D-Wheat penny, in particular, was struck at the Denver Mint, and with over 1 billion of these coins being produced, you might think they're relatively easy to find. However, the real value doesn't lie in how many were made, but in the condition of the coin. Most of these pennies were heavily circulated, getting worn, scratched, and tarnished through everyday use. But here's the secret: there are still a select few in perfect or near-perfect condition, and those are the ones that collectors covet. When it comes to finding a valuable 1957 D penny, the coin's grade is everything. Coins that have been preserved in mint state, meaning they've never been used in commerce and show no signs of wear, are worth far more than the average circulated coin. These coins are highly sought after by collectors and dealers, especially if they retain their original reddish copper luster. If the coin looks like it just came off the minting press, it's likely worth much more than its 1 cent face value. But, as we all know, it's not just about the coin's appearance, it's also about the rarity. And that's where things get really interesting. While the 1957 D-Wheat penny is relatively common, there are some rare error coins that make certain versions worth a lot more. One of the most sought-after variants is the double die error, where the design on the obverse or reverse of the coin appears to be double-stamped, creating a blurry or doubled effect. These coins are incredibly rare, and if you happen to find one, it could be worth far more than you'd expect. Another possible variation of the 1957 D penny that might drive its value up is the full wheat lines variety. In some cases, a coin's design features might not be as well defined due to wear or poor striking at the mint. But the full wheat lines variety features sharp, crisp details in the wheat stalks on the reverse, making it a desirable coin among collectors. The more defined and clear those lines are, the higher the coin's grade, and consequently, its value. You might be wondering, if these coins are so valuable, where can I find one? While it's true that some collectors go on treasure hunts, scouring through old coin jars, rolls of pennies, or even collections from relatives, it's essential to keep an eye out for coins in unusual conditions or those that show characteristics of errors or unique traits. If you find a 1957 D-Wheat penny in excellent shape, it might be worth more than you think. Now, let's talk about what happened with one particular 1957 D-Wheat penny that shocked the numismatic world. A coin in nearly perfect mint state condition, featuring strong details, the full wheat lines, and a vibrant copper-red hue, was sent to an auction house. After being professionally graded and authenticated, the coin became a centerpiece of the auction, attracting fierce competition among collectors. When the bidding finally ended, the coin sold for an incredible $200,000. That's right, this 1-cent coin from 1957, a penny that most people would have tossed into their pocket change, was worth an astounding $200,000. Now, don't be discouraged if you don't think you have one of these rare finds. The lesson here is clear: never underestimate the value of your coins, because you never know what might be hiding in your collection. So, what's the value of your 1957 wheat penny, if you've got one in mint state, with clear, sharp details and maybe even a rare error? You could be holding a coin worth $200,000. Yes, $200,000. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more numismatic stories, tips, and valuable coin discoveries. And always remember, whether you're searching through your own collection or scouring through a box of coins, the next treasure might be just around the corner. Keep your eyes peeled, and happy collecting.